So 23 years later, we get 28 years later. So the first movie came out in 2002, and we were like just 5 more years. I could have just waited 5 more years, and it would literally just be actually 28 years later. But who wanted to wait another 5 years? Not me, because we, for so long, were supposed to get 28 months later. And then that fell through, never happened, and we thought this franchise is just done. But there was always rumblings that we were going to get another one. There was going to be another one. And finally, here we are. And not only are we getting one movie, we're getting 3 films. Now, I haven't really heard much talk about that third film. I know the second film in this trilogy has been filmed. It is called The Bone Collector, and it comes out in January of next year. So we're getting it in like 6 months from now. Now, one would stand to reason that, it would stand to reason that the next one after that would then follow suit and come out 6 months later. But that's not how Pearl, X, and Maxine worked. We got Pearl like 6 months later, and then Maxine was like 2 years later. So you never know. But for right now, I know for sure, as of today anyway, unless they change the date, The Bone Collector should be coming out in January. So this is not a completed story, just so you know, going in. So when it ends, you're going to be like, what the hell? There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course this movie takes place 28 years after the first film, after the spread of the rage virus. And we are following a family. Jamie is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. He is the father to Spike, and they have a sick person in the family, Spike's mother, Jamie's wife, and they don't really know what the hell's wrong with her because, unfortunately, in this world, doctors are not aplenty. They live on a little remote island, disconnected from the mainland, that is connected only through a causeway that gets covered over by water during certain hours, and you only have a certain window of time to be able to get there and back. And it's become this time where Jamie is going to take out Spike. He's 12 years old now. It's time to learn how to go into the mainland and hunt and forage and get things to bring back to the village. So he takes them out in there, and that's the premise for the film. That's about all you need to know. So the first film, when it originally came out, was such a shift of how zombie movies had been done previously. Now, of course, we can address the whole argument of are these infected or are these zombies? Some people are very staunch when it comes to their descriptors of these things and are like, no, these are not zombies, and they get very upset about it. I honestly don't care either way. You can call them infected, you can call them zombies. I know some people are like, no, zombies are undead. These guys aren't dead, so that's why they're different. Whatever. I don't really care. But it was a complete overhaul and kind of shift in the zombie subgenre.
Mm-hmm.
For so long we had the Romero style zombies that were slow and just hordes, and the numbers of them were always kind of the big threat of them. And 28 Days Later came along, and it had this really gritty feel, and the zombies now, or the infected now, were so fast and so angry and were this whole new level of threat. And there was a lot of discussion of what one was more scary to you.
Yeah.
And there's people that are very much on the side of fast zombies versus whatever. And so that film was very scary. And then the sequel came out 28 weeks later, and that one kind of made it more actiony.
Yeah.
And in more recent years, I've seen a lot of negativity towards that movie. I remember when it first came out in 2007, people were really big on it. They really liked it and whatnot. But nowadays, it seems to have a lot of detractors, which is super interesting. I don't know why that happened, but they're really coming out of the woodwork these days. And then this one came along, and I think that if people are expecting this movie, because it's directed by Danny Boyle and it's written by Alex Garland, the creators of the original film, for it to feel like that original film and to really be focused on the zombies or the infected and the scares and the like chilling nature of the story and like really focusing in on the horror aspects, I think they're going to be disappointed, and I think they're not going to like this movie a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is, there's definitely, like, some gore in there, and there's definitely, like, it's not like you don't ever see the infected zombies or whatever, but a lot of it is a drama, and I actually really liked it. I think that it's done very well. It does feel super different from, the first one for me, but it has such an awesome, like atmosphere to it, and I feel like the world building is done really well, because obviously with it being 28 years in the future since all of that's happened, like you want to know what's going on, like how is the world changed, how is it the same, all of that. And but I think that I think like general audiences will be probably disappointed in this because they'll be going to it expecting like
be afraid.
Like a really scary zombie film with the fast rage zombies, and that's not entirely what this is, but I do think that there's some good stuff with the infected in it, like again with the world building and it being 28 years like since the virus has happened. Like there's some interesting stuff to explore there, and I really like that he's taking the time to do that. And like I said, like there is gore. It's pretty sparing, but I feel like when we get it, it's very gnarly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think when the rage zombies, rage infected, are on screen, they're definitely terrifying.
Absolutely.
But they're not the primary focus of the film. Like they're a threat that lingers in the background, and that they can kind of pop up at any moment. But the core of this story is the family drama, right? And that is going to be pretty off-putting and upsetting to some, for sure. They're tired of like, I don't want all of my horror movies to just be family dramas now, disguised as horror films.
Yeah, I understand, but I also think that this is something that tends to happen with zombie films. I mean, even when you take something like The Last of Us, like there's a point where the zombies do become kind of background to other stuff, especially if they've been around for as long as they have been. Like the people that exist are to an extent like used to them. Like it's a threat, yes, and they're not diminishing the threat. They're not saying like, oh, they're safer now or anything, but it's just that people have adapted and like they're aware of them, versus when it's a zombie outbreak like the 28 days later when it like just happened. There's a whole nother level of like society collapsing and that whole fear of like how is it spread, and like everything that goes into like the outbreak panic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you're just kind of, if you think about like, yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic in a sense, right? Like there's a point where it's just going to be like a new world, but people are going to be used to certain things.
Yeah, humans adapt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that The Last of Us is the most apt comparison that you would use for this film. There's definitely similarities to it for sure. When father and son go out hunting, it feels a bit like Joel and Ellie, and it very much is like this coming of age story of this kid who, it feels like a film where a dad's taking his son out to hunt deer for the first time for maybe the first like half an hour of the film, except for in this movie the deer can fight back, and then it shifts and becomes something different. We meet Ray Fiennes' character here, who I'm not going to say much about him, but he's quite good. I think it'll be pretty surprising to find out that the main character of this movie is Spike, the kid, and I definitely want to give a lot of credit to him because I think, when you put the entire weight of a film on the shoulders of a child actor, that's a risky thing to do, and I think this kid is fantastic. So good on them for that. Jodie Comer, who plays the mom in this, is excellent. She's dealing with her sickness, and it's one of the scarier aspects of the movie because she's suffering from something, and she really can't function all that well, and she can't really get out of bed, and she doesn't really know who she is, and there's no one to help, and they don't really know what it is, and they don't really know if she's going to get better, and there's no way that they can treat it to make her, to make her more comfortable, or there's no doctors to check. She's just kind of like how people used to be before modern medicine, and before it's just kind of like you get sick and you just deal with it. There is no medication, there is no treatment, and just think, seeing the world broken down like that, and we're so used to modern comforts that seeing a world that is more archaic in that way is definitely one of the things that, even though you can get used to it to a degree, it's never gonna feel as comfortable as it is now. So I thought that stuff was really well done. There's an ending in this movie that I think is going to really throw some people, because there's some characters that are introduced towards the end that are setups for the next film, and I could definitely see people making fun of it and being like, what the fuck was that?
It's a very interesting ending, very odd, but I definitely think it could ruin it for some people, I think, because it almost feels like a totally different tone from everything else that's happened in the film. I don't think it's unprecedented or anything. I mean, there's a little bit of a setup for it, so it's like, I think you can kind of sort of understand like what the next movie will at least deal with to some amount, but
And another thing here too is that we have a kid who, unlike the other films in the franchise, which is 28 days later, that's only a month, and then 28 weeks later, right? You're not that far in at that point. As to where with Spike, he was born in this, and I've always been fascinated with those stories that take place many years into the future of something post-apocalyptic, especially something with infected zombies. The Last of Us or Walking Dead or whatever, where there is no world they ever knew besides this one. And how much different that world is for them in comparison to the ones who grew up knowing the old world. Right. Like, you can't miss something if you never knew it existed. So I thought that's always cool to see for me. And then as far as this being shot on iPhones, this definitely gives it much more of that, even though it is bigger budgeted, there's definitely still an indie feel to the movie. And they used the cameras, they created this rig to do this like Matrix style kind of like quick spins during the kills, which I thought was interesting. I don't love all of the choices here with the direction. I was very worried at first because there was a lot of these like kind of quick zooms things back and forth, but they kind of went away after the opening. Thank Christ, because that is my least favorite style of directing. And then a lot of the action sequences were like super quick cut, and I was like, oh no. Didn't really continue on throughout. It still happened here and there. So I'm on the fence with like the action sequences. Now the next film is directed by someone else, Nia DaCosta, who did Candyman. So I have a feeling that film will feel wholly different. I don't know if they shot on iPhones or not. I know that this one was. I don't know what they used on that one. So it with it being Danny Boyle, he's always going to try to push the envelopes, try something different. He's not going to just make the same film again. And Alex Garland you know, he's a very heady writer. Like, you know, if you've ever watched his work from Annihilation to the TV show Devs to, like, the guy's not gonna write a straightforward zombie film with just hordes of zombies chasing after people and them hiding. That's not gonna tantalize him as a writer, right? He wants to write something interesting and different and try something unique. So this doesn't surprise me with them coming back that they're gonna make something feel different than because he already made 28 Days Later. He's not here to make it again.
Yeah.
That's just not going to be interesting to Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. I figured that going in. So I do wonder how this will be received. I have a feeling it's going to be very split. As far as our theater experience, if for anyone who wants to stick around for that, otherwise we'll do a spoiler discussion and you can go check that out if you've seen it and you want to hear more of those thoughts. But for right now, real quick, we went to the theater to see this. We actually went to the post office first, and it was closed.
Yes.
For Juneteenth, and we were like, "Fuck, okay, that sucks." We left early to do that, so then we didn't have that to do. So then we went to the theater, and the theater was shut down for air conditioning issues, which has happened multiple times at that theater now.
Yeah.
So then we left, and we were gonna go home, and then we were like driving home, and then Kaylee was like, "Well, we could go see it, well, you know, this other theater," and I was like, "Oh God, okay." And I was like, "Yeah, if we don't do it now, it's not gonna be till much later." My car is having a lot of issues lately. My window is broken, like it keeps falling down, and I've ordered the parts. I'm fixing it. Lots of drama there. Ordered the wrong part. It's been broken for a while. It doesn't matter. It does matter, but it's 117 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Our window won't roll down or roll up. The tape won't stick to keep it up because it's too fucking hot, and the tape gets so melted that it literally won't hold.
Yeah.
The stickiness won't hold the thing anymore. The car's having overheating issues right now.
It's so hot out. Like,
it's craziness.
Yeah.
So we had to drive to a completely different theater. We had to get our tickets refunded for the last one because we have A-lists and they won't let us do it. So then we had to get the guy to come up, the manager, to give us like free tickets so they could do this. It was a pain in the ass to see this.
Yeah.
And we had tickets to see the Dolby Atmos in our big theater.
Yeah.
And we had to drive out, and they had it in a smaller theater, and the sound quality was pretty bad. I mean, it was really quiet the whole time.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm serious, man. I'm like, I love the theater. I went to the theater more than probably everyone watching this video. Honestly, like, I went to the theater so many fucking times in my life. It's insane. I go like 2, sometimes 3 times a week for years and years and years and years now. I'm kind of over it. Like, I love the theater and I want it to stay, but god damn, we have so many problems all the time. How many times have we made videos where we're like, assholes in the theater?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking theater shut down. You know, went to the wrong theater for that screening. There's just so many times where we've went, and it takes half our day. Every time we go to the fucking movie, no matter what. It always takes half our day. Because it's either like you have the time off of work up until this point, and then the time once we get home, it's like we're racing to get the review done because I'm like, we got plans later in the night or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the fucking
theater.
It is
quite a hassle.
It is such a hassle. If these movies were available for us to watch at home, I just honestly don't think I would almost ever go to the theater again.
Yeah, I mean, watching them in the comfort.
I love the theater.
I know. But yeah, watching them in the comfort of your home, where you don't have to worry about like any of those issues typically. No,
you don't. But there's problems at home too, but at least I'm at home.
Yeah.
And at least I'm not dealing with the 117 degree heat and everything being closed down and freeway exits and stuff. We weren't even able to get on the freeway because all the exits were like closed, or entrances were closed as we were trying to drive onto it, and it's just chaos out in the world.
It is.
You know,
Very chaotic.
and the world is so dramatic right now, and there's so much chaos going on. It's like I just want to fucking like movies are escapism, and when I have to go out into the world and there's so much bullshit going on to even get into the theater, it's like it's just added extra stress that we don't need.
Yeah.
So, it's turning into 28 fucking days later out there.
Feels like it sometimes.
So yeah, not fun. But you know, good movie.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to like sit on it for a little while. It's a different film than I expected it to be for sure, but I just thought we'd focus more on the zombies or the infected. I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
I definitely
I did.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed the drama and whatnot. But yeah. Anyway, off to the spoiler discussion.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.